Welcome to This Week in Anderson High School Sports here on ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports. My name is Jason Griefer. As always, we're joined by Anderson Athletic Director Chris Newton and Assistant Athletic Director Zach McCormick. We also have a very special guest with us here today, a longtime cross-country and track coach, Andy Wolf, joining us here on the show. We're going to go in-depth into his programs here, how they've been doing. We'll recap the Anderson Invite that was this past weekend. Also look forward to this coming week here. So we appreciate Coach Wolf's time here. We'll save the bulk of the show for him here in just a few moments. But first, let's start on the diamond with the baseball team here. And we talked last week how the teams have been mid-pack in the ECC and a jam-packed ECC from top to bottom. So the team split series with Kings and West Claremont. So we kind of remain status quo in the league. We got scheduled 2 games with Walnut Hills. We'll see about that. But we also have, they're in the battle with Kings and Turpin for first place in the league there. But so we'll see what happens there. How are we looking as far as the schedule goes this week? Are those games with Walnut Hills still on the docket? Because I know their game against Monday against Lebanon had to be called off.
So we will be not playing. We're not going to be playing. Hey, can you mute that, bro? We're not going to be playing Walnut on Wednesday and Friday. It's bad enough hearing myself once. I got to hear myself 3 times when you have that on, man. So our games Wednesday and Friday, varsity wise, we're not going to be playing those this week. We're going to be playing them at later dates. But I think, we're working on picking up a game for tonight. We got the feelers out. I think we got a game. Now we just need to find some umpires for tonight. But no, we're excited. Our boys are playing really well. We've mixed, like you said, splitting games here and there. I mean, our league, man, we just beat each other up. It's a great league and it's fun to compete in it. But we've got some guys that are going right now. Josh Overbeek is smashing the ball all over the place. I think he's up to 6 home runs now. Cole Brennan is hitting like 4 high 4s, and we're getting really solid pitching. Kyle Geerding threw great for us yesterday, and Jack Storm's been throwing incredible. We got the little lefty, and he's been doing a great job. So we like where we are, and we're just gonna hopefully get hot here and make a run for the championship.
And as you said, still a lot to be played for right now. I think looking at the last check of the standings, even though the split with Kings and West Claremont, you're still only like a game and a half or 2 games out of first place right now. So still a lot to be played for here in the final weeks of the regular season for sure. Zach, let's move over to the softball side of things. League play wasn't so friendly to your team this past week, but we've talked about here. It's a very good league in general. You did get a nice 9-5 win over Princeton. It's always good to beat a GMC school. As anybody knows, the GMC is one of the top leagues in the state as far as softball goes. So you get a win there. A freshman, Vivia Johns, goes 4 for 4, a couple of runs scored, stole a bag as well. She's hitting .382 on the year. Very impressive in her freshman campaign, and seeing the varsity level for the first time here. As we're heading into the final 2 weeks of the regular season here, what are the coaches said about her play at the varsity level, which she's at for the first time?
I mean, they're happy, but our coaches do a great job of still just trying to get a little bit better every day. So I mean, they're happy with where she's at, but they believe she can still be better, and she believes that, and that's one of the biggest things, is to never be complacent. So, I mean, obviously she's having a heck of a freshman year that not too many kids have. So we have to be able to celebrate that, but also stay down enough to make sure that we're still trying to get better, and we're not going to be complacent with that. So she's definitely been a huge help and huge asset for us this year. But we're excited to see what she has for the next 3 years. That's the best part about it. But yeah, to have a big win on Saturday was awesome. I mean, see all the work that the girls put in, and then to be rewarded with a win is the smiles on their faces says it all. And it's why you do this job. You love it. It's so fun, and we're excited to have Vivian for the next 3 years, and excited to see what we have this week and hopefully get a couple more W's.
How is she handling the balance of having this early success while also understanding that she's still wants to improve and wants to get better, and likely in her mind probably still has a ways to go before she gets where she wants to be?
Absolutely. I mean, she's a great kid. She comes from a great family, and they are softball junkies. So that's what I never really worry about her, because they really are. I mean, they play summer ball, they travel, they go. I mean, everywhere they go, they are pretty much, they have a softball glove or a bat, and they're throwing and catching or getting some short swings in. Really, she's just a worker, and that's the best part about it, because she's never really going to be complacent. If she continues to work this hard, her future is going to be very, very bright, and we're excited to have her in the orange and black. That's for sure.
Regular season winding down there. For some postseason events already starting to arrive now. Let's switch gears. Let's talk about your tennis team here. We touched on last week about the opportunity they had to finish the regular season in the ECC undefeated and really send a big message to the rest of the league that Anderson is the school to beat. And boy, did they live up to the billing after 5-0 sweeps over West Claremont, and most notably the 5-0 sweep over defending champion Loveland. So big message to send at the end of the regular seaseason to finish the year 8-0 in the league. Now they're up today on Tuesday up in Mason at the Lindner Tennis Center for the ECC championships and trying to finish the deal and win the crown here. Newt, after the message that they sent this past week, rolling over West Claremont and Loveland, how tough of a day were they anticipating today, knowing that they've run through the league pretty much unchallenged thus far?
Well, I mean, they know that, some of those matches were 3-2 matches and were decided by, points. So they know they got to bring it today. And our coach did a great job of keeping everybody level headed and grounded. You never want to think you're the cat's meow, because there's somebody always bigger and better and badder than you. And our coach, I think, did a great job in doing some scheduling. So we sweep through the league. We go 8-0, and like you said, man, our kids are on top of the world. They beat Loveland 5-0. Man, let's go. And then we bring in Bjorn Borg, John McEnroe, Ilie Nastasi, Jimmy Connors, and
you're
Rafael
dating yourself,
Nadal, and Roger Federer.
There you go.
Yesterday, and we played the St. X tennis team. These guys are unbelievable. I can't remember. I think they're like second in the state or something like that. So it was a great chance for our kids to see, hey, if we want to, we strive to be the best team in the state. We got to compete against these guys, and we got to go. And so we struggled. There's no doubt about it, but we competed our butts off. And that was what I love to see. And, there's no shame in saying that, their tennis program is better than ours right now. There's no shame in that at all. But what we did is something that I loved. And like I said, we competed. And so that kind of got our minds set, and we're ready to go today to prove, hey, we're not where we want to be, but we're ready to work to get to there. And it's like I told, the kids after the tennis match, man, you don't got to be better than St. X 10 times in a row. All you got to be better than your opponent is one day. That's it. And so, in the hopes that, yesterday wasn't our day, today's going to be. Our kids are going to play great. I'm excited to go out there and ride some roller coasters out there at Kings Island and go hoot and holler at those kids. But I'm excited for when after today, when we keep moving and go into the tournament, they're ready to go. And so we're excited about it and ready to cheer for them.
Who wins the league title today?
Anderson.
Zach?
Anderson.
That's right, baby.
I just had to make sure. I sometimes like to ask the easy questions to keep it easy on these guys. They have enough on their plates. I'm sure the kids will be able to hear Newt hollering from the top of whatever ride he's allowed to be on.
Baby, going, let's go!
Thank you very much. Even joining us today with a not less than 100% voice, and you wouldn't know it. Thanks to thanks to saltwater for that.
Epsom salts or
There you
whatever
go.
all night long.
Thank you very much here. Let's move on here and let's bring in our special guest here, cross country and track coach, Andy Wolf. Coach, first of all, we do appreciate your time joining us here on the show. We've had a lot of busy times going on here as of late. And as we always know with the springtime, it's a lot of events in a very, very short period of time here. Take us through kind of up to this point where we stand with your programs. How do you think they've performed? Where are we at as far as trying to improve ourselves this late in the season, kind of all those things right now? Where do you see things?
Well, we're not as competitive as we usually are this year. We've got a lot of young guys. I mentioned Chris the other day, a lot of guys would be winning JV meets, but unfortunately they're being pressed into varsity action. So they're making good progress, and we need to make sure they know that they're not failing at the varsity level because of anything other than just age. So we're coming along nicely, I think, for where we are.
What has it been like for you to try to navigate through these kids, through seeing that varsity experience for the first time? And of course, a lot of these kids, didn't get to experience it last year because we didn't have a season. How has it been like for you as a coach to try to push these kids who, as you said, would probably do very well at the JV level, but they're being pressed into the varsity experience because they're so young right now? How have you been able to manage that as a coach?
Well, one of the things we wanted to do this year was to basically schedule a lot of meets where we could get kids just in to participate. We can't substitute in track. You're either in the meet or you're not in the meet. So we scheduled a lot of meets. The kids just missed a whole year of participating and developing. And so we've definitely overscheduled to get them going. And you really can't press it too much because a lot of these kids they're not in any other sport. And if they didn't do the off-season conditioning, if you press them too much, they break, they get injured. So
yeah,
you still have to maintain the training concept that you're still dealing with young legs and young ligaments and joints. And we owe it to them to develop them properly, even if it means holding back a little bit. We're not here to get anybody injured. So yeah, you just do your normal thing and keep encouraging the kids that this is an unusual year where they're thrown into competitions that are a little over their head, but the training has to be right for their bodies.
Sure, absolutely. Newt, Zach, let me bring you back in here. We've talked here in the last few weeks about the fact that you have a lot of youth on the track and field squads on both sides of things, both the boys and the girls there. I wanted to get your thoughts on how you think and what you've seen and how you believe Coach Wolf has handled that transition for so many of these young kids who, as we talked about, would probably do very well at the JV level, but they're being pressed into varsity action. How would you say Coach Wolf has navigated those waters?
Incredible. The funny thing is, as a coach, you have to learn how hard you can push a kid, when to put the pedal down on them, when to let off on them a little bit. And those are things you just don't, I mean, there's no book that says that. There's no two kids are the same. You just have to individually kind of do that. And that's one of the things Coach Wolf does incredibly well is the relationships that he builds with our kids. He not only, puts their names in a lineup, he knows everything about those kids. And by doing that, the trust factor that a kid has with him. And so he can have those kind of conversations where, there's not a more humorous individual in the world than Andy Wolf. But when Andy needs to say, hey, now it's time to go, the kids understand that because of that relationship that he builds with them. And, another one of the great things about Andy is he has a story for every situation that's ever been involved in anything. Okay. And so when he tells a kid something, there's a prior example that he can relate to the kid. So the kid knows that Andy's just not making something up. Coach just isn't throwing something at me to talk. There's a reason why he makes the decisions he does. And it just that trust factor and that relationship factor that he builds with every single kid on our team is amazing.
Zach, how invaluable is it to have a coach in Coach Wolf who has that life experience and has all of these stories or anecdotes that he can use to relate to these kids? And secondly, how have you seen those kids respond to those instances when Coach Wolf has to pull them aside and have a conversation and bring up something that he's experienced that also the kids can relate to?
I think it's incredibly valuable. I mean, to have a coach that has done it as a player and also done it as a coach for so long, it's invaluable. I mean, you can literally, he has something for every situation and can relate to every kid. You can talk to every kid, but they might not respond the same. It's how you talk to the kids. And I think that is huge. And that's one of his great traits. But it just goes into all the kids buy into the culture. I mean, Thursday and Friday were two of my favorite days in this role. Just seeing how great our team did, not only on the track, but as soon as one event was done, they would go rush out there and pick up the hurdles all as a team. And move the hurdles, do everything together. You could just tell that the culture piece is there and the kids are together. And my favorite thing about track is when somebody's running or throwing or whatever, the whole entire team is there on the side, just cheering them on. And that, it's awesome for your heart to see. And it is so fun. And you can just tell that that's the culture and Coach Wolf grows these kids into better people, not just better track athletes. And that's the key. And that's what we want all of our coaches to do, is help these kids grow and to be the best people that they can be and have the right opportunities to be successful. And I definitely can say without a doubt that I know our track program is accomplishing that. And I could not be more grateful that Coach Wolf is the one leading our pack there.
Coach Zach, go ahead.
I just want to add, Zach brought up a great point. He brought up a great point. And this is Andy Wolf right here to the T. So, not every kid could participate in the meet. We got as many kids as we could in the invitational, but not everybody can. But everybody has a role on the team, and some of the roles were where you were the hurdle crew. Okay, that was your job. Your job was to go pull the hurdles on and off, to adjust the hurdles up and down, and that was your job. And so I can't remember what I was doing. I was running to go do something, and Andy has got the biggest smile on his face, and he's like, "New record." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I just missed one of our kids running around." And I'm like, "Who did it?" And he goes, the hurdle crew. They went under 40 seconds. And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" But he celebrated those kids for doing their job to the best of their ability. And he not only did that to me, he did it in an email to all the parents. And that's Andy Wolf right there. He celebrates kids. It doesn't matter. They don't have to be the fastest running mile, okay? Or whatever. It's whatever their job is, do it to the best of their ability. And that describes him to a T.
Coach, a big weekend, obviously, the Anderson Invitational, a lot of things going on logistically that you have to do to pull this event off with, outside competition coming in here. Talk us through how you felt the event ran in its entirety logistically. Brag on your hurdle crew. I'll show the rest of the show if you want to, all those things like that. How you think your athletes did once they were able to get out there on track?
Well, athletically, we had about half of the efforts, the races, the throws, the jumps, were the best they've done all season. So that's wonderful. They're right on track. They're getting better, doing the right things. Logistically, it's a big meet. There are 24 schools, and we tried a new concept of having the team area outside the stadium in the parking lot where they could still see the track, keep things safer for the crowds. And honestly, I kind of hate to say it, but I think this might have been the best one ever. As far as just efficiency and the number of positive compliments from the coaches after the meet and during the meet. And that's a credit to the kids who do the work to make the meet go, and their parents. They just, everybody jumped in with 2 feet. I think they were just so hungry to be participating again and interacting again that, usually you get some kids who don't show up, they're out cracking walnuts for the cookie team or something. And, but it was all hands on deck. Everybody was there. They got there early. It was just the weather was good. The only complaint I got, and I got a lot of these, without the concession stand, those coaches missed the spicy Mets. They all wanted to see Sally. They all wanted their spicy Met, and we could not do that this year. So that it was not 100% perfect meat without the perfect meat, which is the spicy Met. So otherwise, great weekend. And Chris and Zach were everywhere. It's like they're like Batman and Robin without the skinny tights, which we're all thankful for.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth. We are all thankful for that, and I don't think they're going to argue with that either.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful weekend.
How much easier for you is it when you have the coaches, the other coaches, the kids from the other schools, and the parents, and everybody that wants to come be a part of this and also see it buy in as much as you said they did? Obviously everybody wasn't able to get the spicy Met, but outside of that, from what you're saying, it ran about as flawlessly as you could ask for. How big of a role do the outside forces play in helping make that happen?
Well, you want to do, in track, we don't play defense.
Mm-hmm.
We don't try to stop anybody else. So everybody's friendly. Very rarely do you have a track athlete or a track coach who's a jerk. We're just all kind of the same, wanting everybody to do their best. So it's easy to get motivated to give your friends a good experience of a track meet like that. And I know they try their best when they put their meets on too. So it's self-rewarding and self-motivating like that.
Absolutely. Let me bring in Batman and Robin here once again. A busy week for the program this week as it stands right now. You've got 3 meets coming up here in the next 4 days at Kings and Milford, and then Friday at Loveland here. How are you expecting the teams to not only perform, but also hold up? Because that's a lot to ask for in 3 meets in 4 days. We'll bring in Coach here in a second to get his thoughts on that. Newt, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, and as Andy said, we want to have a bunch of meets to make sure all of our kids get in and compete. So, Andy's been doing this 48 years. So I trust him a little bit in that there's probably not going to be too many youngins that are going to be competing in all 3 meets. He's gonna space them out to make sure that they maximize their output without having the chance of being injured. So, but no, I'm excited. I mean, I expect to see great things. We got a kid, Jackson Trigg, who, I don't know if you could have a more outstanding of a young man than him. He's the kind of guy that goes up to Coach Wolf afterwards and asks what he needs done. And, he was one of the last ones to be at the meet because he was helping out, clean stuff up and everything. But he set, every time he touched the track, he set a personal record on Thursday and Friday. So he runs the 100, the 110 hurdles, set a personal record, runs the 300 hurdles, set a personal record. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, I'm anxious to see those guys continue to go in that direction. And with 3 meets this week, they're going to have opportunities to go out there and better it. Paige Elliff, Giesel Pete's, the record board is going to be called the Paige Elliff record board because she might own every single one of them. They better hope the people that own the high jump and the long jump record better hope that she doesn't go and compete in those because she owns the discus and shot put record now. So, every time our kids step on the track, we have the opportunity to set new personal records. And I think Andy, and our girls coach Taylor Rose prepare them to do that.
Zach, how do you expect the track and field athletes to hold up over this next week? Because as you said, not everybody likely not going to space runners and field athletes out here, but what are your expectations this week?
Absolutely. We'll space them out. But I mean, it's part of having a veteran coach that knows what kind of kids can handle and kind of what their limits are. So we're not going to put any kids out there that are going to be risking of getting hurt. So that's the best part. And we know that we're fully confident in our kids. And then we have the best training staff around. I mean, April and Olivia, they're going to take care of our kids. They do a great job of prepping them, getting them stretched and doing things like that. And then, I mean, our track coaches, they go and stretch every day. I mean, they do all the right things to prepare yourself to make sure that you are staying injury free. So it's not just going out there and running. It's doing the little things like stretching, eating right, and doing making sure that you're staying hydrated throughout the day. So it's doing all the little things and kind of being responsible within yourself to help ensure that you're ready to go out there and run and your body's in peak condition to go out there and run. So I have full confidence that our kids are going to do that because we have great kids and Coach Wolf is going to go out there and make sure that our kids are going to be in a good position. So I'm excited for them, and I definitely think we're going to be in a good spot.
Coach, with so many events in the next few days here, and we'll space them out, I'm sure. How do you go about that process of deciding who's going to compete in what event here, so as to not wear the kids out before you head into the postseason, which is just a couple of weeks away?
Well, when we set the schedule up this week, for example, Loveland meet is Friday. That's the meet where we will want to put our best foot forward, the top varsity kids. So today at Kings, now all these meets this week are varsity meets, but we're putting a lot of young ones in it. Today will be a whole lot of JVs and any marginal varsity kids who kind of need to have a runoff to see if they might be able to compete on Friday. So it's mostly JV and some marginal varsity guys. And Wednesday at Milford, it'll be all JV guys. Nobody who runs today will run at Milford. And then Friday is the varsity guys plus anybody who's earned their way in, and they will have had 4 days rest, but not rest of practice, but
sure,
between competition. Yeah. So
the
the other big thing we do is
mm-hmm.
when they buy shoes at the beginning of the season, really make sure that they buy the right kind of competition shoes.
Okay.
So many parents want the best of everything for their kids. And if you do that on track spikes, you're buying an injury. I always recommend all the new kids get distance runners spikes because they have padded heels. Because these kids have growing legs, and you can go in and buy a $100, $150 pair of track spikes for sprinters, where the entire bottom is hard plastic, and I guarantee you will be hurt after your first or second meet because they're made for a man's leg, a college athlete's leg. A high school kid, they may look really good, but if you get the wrong kind of competition shoe, you're basically paying a lot of money to spend a lot of time with April in the training room. So, those little things,
mm-hmm.
those little things really matter.
Yeah, no doubt. That's a great point. I think it's something that not a lot of people consider at this age. And it's great that you have that experience to know that these kids are still literally developing and still literally their bones, their ligaments are still growing. So to be able to take care of them in that perspective, I think that's great for sure. Lastly, before we wrap up the show here today, Coach, obviously it's been a very unique season and you've had a wealth of experience over your coaching career, but I'm sure this one probably ranks near the top as far as the most unique. and trying to navigate through a pandemic. And we didn't have a season a year ago. Now everybody's back, but we still have protocols we have to abide by, masks, social distancing, all those types of things. I'm wondering how that's been for you, given you've been able to coach for so long under quote unquote normal living conditions. And now we have to make those adjustments to do the things we have to do in order to make sure we have a season. And then secondly, how do you think the kids have responded to everything that we need to do?
They've responded very well. Once again, you can find ways to do team building exercise. We take their temperature with this little gun every day, and the kids walk out of the building now, and as they come over to the track, they're already starting to push their hair back so you can get a shot at the forehead. And I've got a couple of young guys who, their best years are way ahead of them, but they love to help take the temperature. They want to be a part. I mean, they want to use that temperature gun, so they'll take the temperature and I write it down, and then a lot of the kids, they're used to, let's guess your temperature, like predict your temperature, and it's like a game. So nobody misses getting their temperature taken because it's kind of fun to see who has the low temperature of the day, who has the high temperature, who guesses it right. Some of the younger guys, and it might be their best event, taking temperatures, but they're having fun and they're part of the team, and they high five each other when they do it. And probably that kid will end up being a heart surgeon someday.
Newt, Zach, before I let you go here, when you hear stories like that, what's your reaction? Does it surprise you at all with Coach Wolf?
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, and Coach Wolf is now retired from teaching. So sometimes he comes in early, like he might come in at 1 o'clock someday. And we love that here in the office. Patty and Zach and I love it because, he comes in and talks to us, and we enjoy that a ton. And there's one thing that I did want to share. Zach mentioned something about culture, and, and Andy talks about the program. This is the kind of culture that exists, that surrounds Andy Wolf. So unfortunately, two of our seniors kind of injured themselves back in January and February with some running and stuff like that. And so they have not been able to compete. Now, fortunately, they're getting there and they're going to be ready to go, and they're back running right now. But, Andy and Taylor and April and Olivia, they're not rushing them into anything. They're making sure they're ready to go for when they're 100% by the time ECCs and stuff like goes on. So last night, Friday night, as you can imagine, there's 24 teams, and I don't know how many thousands of kids running around on the field and running around everywhere. So there was, they did a great job of cleaning them after themselves, but there were a lot of things scattered all over the turf. So, we asked our kids to help. So you got two seniors, you got Alex Kulowak and you got Trudy Schellenberger, who did not step on that track one time to run anything. But what they did is they made sure they're the last two to leave Anderson High School. It was pitch dark. Everybody's gone. And Alex and Trudy are still there helping Zach and I and Andy Wolf pick up the track. And so that's the culture that exists. And that is because of Andy Wolf, because of what he means so much to everyone. And they want to make sure they do. They couldn't help on the track, unfortunately, Thursday and Friday, but they could help in other places. And that's why they do the things they do.
Certainly, it's all about culture, as you guys talk about, for sure. And Coach Wolf certainly has that in spades, for sure. Not only this season, but throughout his incredible run here. That's going to wrap up our time here today. Our thanks to Batman and Robin. They can decide who's who amongst them. And with Coach Andy Wolf, I noticed the very, very strong, commanding mustache, so we can refer to him as Commissioner Gordon because we know he runs things there at Anderson anyway. So our thanks to all three for joining us here for This Week in Anderson High School Sports here in ESP Media, powered by Sidearm Sports.